I made a small list here of things to do, just so I can get out of my head, and that's what I'm gonna do today. So if it takes a lot of time to figure out the CSS, I'm just gonna do it off stream, and then I'll study the physics first. I still have to see if the other layouts as well are working. I decided to go back to the way that it was before because it was working. And I think that using the nodes and the edges as it was there is probably better because of React. So I think it doesn't make that much of a difference. So I think it's like better to focus on the other stuff now. So that's what I'm gonna do. So the only change I made from the way it was before is I changed the layout type to depend on the store instead of depending on the value there from the props. So in this way I don't have to change anything. I spent some time thinking about it, whether or not it's worth it. Maybe I'll do it in the future, but I think it doesn't matter that much because the layout's not the stuff that I'm trying to do. I think that trying to implement the VisJS one first is probably better, but it's gonna be really difficult, I think, to implement the VisJS. That's my biggest concern because I don't have a lot of time, so. And the way that I'm doing here is just, I just put a button to see if it's gonna work, but then I put this value on the store and then it sets the layout to whatever it is here by changing the value. And then on the build graph, it depends on the layout type from the store instead of getting from the props on the use graph. Yeah, here. So now I have to see, which is very annoying, to be honest, the work on the CSS. So what I want to do, I think, is with the layouts, I want to do something like this, where I can select, but I don't know how to do this. I have to search. I don't know the name of this. A selection box, maybe? The other thing that I realized is that I can't really put the component inside of the canvas because the canvas uses a custom renderer. So the issue, you can do it, but then you have to extend HTML elements to the canvas or to the React renderer scope. So the way that they were doing on the other projects is by using a component from React 3.js, I think, called HTML, that allows you to put HTML inside of the visualization. But I didn't like that. I want to avoid using that because I don't want to put another library in the project. So yeah, so I think the way that I'm thinking about it now is I'm not gonna allow for customizations on the camera, and if I do, it's gonna be with the lil-gui, I think. And maybe I'm gonna have to see because it's gonna be. I think what I'm gonna do is put, because the one thing that it would be nice to have customization is for the mode, because depending on the mode that is accepted as props, you can pan like this, or you can rotate the view. So I think that it would be nice to allow people for rotating the view, but I think what I'm gonna do is just create something on the custom component outside of the canvas, which is the one that I'm doing right now, that changes the props from the graph. So yeah, that's the way that I'm thinking about it now, is creating the customization component outside, and then making it so that the customization component only changes the values of the graph, like the size of the edges and stuff like that, size of nodes, color. I think it's gonna have to re-render the graph every time, so yeah, I'll have to see how is that gonna work. Because here, like, and this is the biggest problem, I think. I imagine that every time that I change a value here on the way that I'm doing, because of React, is gonna have to re-render the components, because I'm gonna have to set the nodes on the store again. Yeah, I think the thing that I'm gonna have to do is, instead of making everything based on props, I'm gonna have to make it based on the store. But this is not very good, because then I can put different ways on the store to set the values, actually. I think that's what I'm gonna do, because it's not good to make everything based on the store, because then I can't pass the values. I have to pass the nodes and edges as props, because they're gonna come from outside the thing, and they're not gonna be part of the customization component. I think it has to be there, or maybe not. Yeah. I didn't change here. Oh, it's because of this, I think. Not really sure. So I'm gonna have to change these ones, I think. But maybe not. Oh. And so where is this? I hate CSS. Yeah. Yeah, the question is, how do I make it so that it's always on the top? Now, I'm also gonna add the functionality to drag the components. It's not gonna show anything. I remember I used this on the blog. I'm thinking about a color that is not white, but is not. It's kind of like glass color that you can visually see the thing, because I don't want to pollute or like remove space from the visualization. But I think by default I'm gonna put here, and then I'm gonna add some events to the div that wraps everything to move, to be able to allow people to move around, move the customization around. But this, I'm not really sure how it's gonna work, because I think there isn't gonna be a problem, because it's gonna be on top of the canvas. But my concern is that if the two events are gonna intersect, like when the thing is on top of the canvas. I think I can't use position absolutes if I wanna. It has to be relative, but then I have to think about like how do I put it in a way that is on top of the canvas instead of being like taking up the space. So I think it's pretty easy to do. What I'm trying to do is just put the values here as whatever layout it is, and then just put the on-click function on each one of them. Maybe the value doesn't matter. I think the value is probably. Yeah, I have to think about this. I can manually write down. I think I don't need this value here. Let's see if this works. It's not a good explanation, not a good suggestion. So I think this way I'm gonna have to put the position as relative on the one that I'm wrapping here with, just this one, which I don't want to do. Maybe I should create another folder here, and then I put the name of the folder as canvas. I think I'll do that later. I mean, maybe it's better to do it now, and then because then I don't have to refactor everything later. I think that's probably the best thing to do, to try. I'll search on DuckDuckGo first. The biggest issue with this is that I'm gonna have to rethink. That's my concern. Depending on where I put the canvas, but obviously I can always change the CSS of the outer layers, I think. But I'm thinking, depending on where I put the canvas on different pages, if it's gonna change. And also this feels really small, now that I think about it. I think the reason why is because the other way that I was doing, I had a div wrapping this, And then with that div, I was determining the way that it's gonna be. But I think that this is probably the best way. I remember I thought about this as well some time ago, like on the previous versions, where I didn't know if it was better to put the div that wraps the canvas inside of the graph component, so that way I can just put the component on any parts, or I should put the div outside of the component, and then for each place that I want to put the graph component, I need to create another div and like isolate the graph, and then I decide the CSS of that based on the wrapping div. But it is like obviously the same thing, because the only thing that is changing is that the div is going to be either inside of the component or outside. But I think it does change, because it's probably better to be outside, because you don't want to couple the div that is going to determine the thing, because it's going to change depending on the page. So I think this is probably the easiest approach. So I'm just going to create another thing here. Yeah, now let me think about a name. Use wrapper provider. Maybe provider is better, because then I'm gonna remember that is the style of the component that is providing, and then in case I want to put other divs here or other stuff, I can do that. I guess that's another thing that I can do, just create another div and then wrap the customization with that div, and then I use the value of the div as relative. So I remember I was putting the width and height as well on the other way. I think that's the thing that I changed, and that's the reason why the place to put the code here is very small. This is another thing that I'm thinking about, is like, obviously now I decided to change the way that I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna do, I don't think I'm gonna use this page anymore. I'm not gonna use the code for now, the code editor. So yeah, I'm not gonna need to do what I'm thinking about doing. But eventually I think I'm gonna do that, which is to make this slide, if that makes sense. Not sure how to say that in English. Where you can like move around, like you can resize, yeah. The same way that the code editors work. That's gonna be very annoying as well to do. I think I won't bother much with the... I think putting the size is gonna be the thing that I talked about, where it's better if I have to create a div to wrap the canvas each time, and then I determine the size of the canvas based on the div. And that's the best way. Yeah, so I'm gonna... do like this, I think. Actually, copy this one first. I'm not sure if this is gonna work though. I don't know how styles on the provider work. If it is gonna accept that. So if it doesn't, I'm just gonna create another div there to wrap the customization. Actually. Oh, the relative one worked. Maybe I didn't even need to do that. Yeah, I think that's the relative one works. But then it's gonna be on this side. Oh no, it's not working, it's just taking space of the canvas. And this is annoying. And this one is not gonna work. And it doesn't work. Moving based on the distance not that great as well. Now obviously I can put a different value there on the top and then it's gonna be there, but then it's gonna depend on the size of the nav. I don't like that. But this is the thing as well. I kind of don't like this style of this thing, but I guess I can change the style of the CSS hopefully. Of the select here. And I think the only way is choose position absolute and then change the value, which kind of sucks, to be honest. Now let me try to create another div and see if this is the problem, because it might be. I want to avoid having to set the values of the top and the left here. It's weird that it's outside there. Not sure if it's working. Yeah, now it doesn't show anywhere. So the div probably has to wrap the canvas and the thing. Because it has to be determined by the same thing. And the only issue is that I can't put the width and height here, I think. It doesn't work. I think this is the problem. It's probably because it doesn't have width and height, maybe. Yeah. I think the problem is that the canvas from React to Fiber puts these divs here. I don't remember seeing that though. On the thing. Yeah, when I was studying the React to Fiber canvas, I don't remember seeing anything related to creating divs. Oh, actually, I do remember now that I think about it. Like, in the part that it uses because there are two different canvas, one for the web and one native for smartphones. So on the smartphones one, the canvas is just an object, but I think on the web one, which is the one that I'm using, it does have these elements here on the components. So this is the problem, because how do I make it? If I put a height here, it's gonna be width and height's not gonna be very good. So how can I do this? I think one way is just to one question that I can ask is how to make the div be the same size as the largest element inside of the div. So that way it would always have the size of the canvas. The other one is how to make the div have the size of the element outside of the... But if I do that, it's probably gonna fuck up the other one. Yeah. I think that's not gonna work as well. Yeah, it's not gonna work because I would have to change the values of the vector fiber canvas. So how can I do this? Another way is just to put the customization outside. But the problem is I can't do that because it has to be inside of the store, the graph store. So you can change the value. Because the way that I'm doing the way that I set up the store is so that, and I'm not 100% sure if this works as well, because I just asked on their Discord and that's the response I got. With is a page on the documentation on the Zustan store. But I'm not 100% sure if it works or not. But the reason why I did this is so that the canvas is always, the store is always related to a specific instance of the graph components. Because if I want to put multiple different graph components on the same website, I don't want the store to be, the value of the store to be attached to all of the components. I want for each instance to have its own value, its own store, but I don't want to manually create a store each time I create a graph component. So the name that they say this is dependency injection, but I'm not 100% sure if it works or if it's best. It feels kind of weird to me because you're using a normal context to wrap the store, which it doesn't make a lot of sense. Because the point of using a state management would be to not use the context, even though all state management libraries probably use the normal context. And they just add some extra logic, so maybe. But it feels kind of weird to use the Zustan store and then use the normal graph context. But because I'm doing like that, I think the customization component has to be inside of this component here, so it has access to the values of the store. And the only way to not be this way is if the component was outside, but then the store would be only one instance for all the graph components, which is not that good. And the issue is because I'm not using the... Like, one thing that I can do is just continue to use React to Fiverr, but just move all the code in the local project, and then I can change the CSS for the canvas. That's gonna be a lot of work, I think. The problem I think with putting the values is that it's gonna make it so that for each time that I create a component, I'm gonna have to, like, I can't do it like that, I think, because it has to work as its own thing. I want to get it to the point where I don't have to think about this anymore. Like the graph stuff is isolated from the rest of the website, because there's a lot of stuff to think about, like, on top of that. So it would be ideal if like every time that I create an instance of the graph component, I can do the same stuff outside to manage. I think it has to be that way, because otherwise, like, I can't change the value later. That's the problem, because it's attached to every single instance of the component. So if it works on one page with the values like this, and then I put the component somewhere else, then it's probably not gonna work with the values of the CSS. And then the problem is that I can change the values because they like, it's not dynamic. If I fix one, it's gonna fuck up the other one. So this is one of the reasons why I hate CSS. So what can I do here? Think about it. I guess I can see how the lil-gui works, how they do it. But I think they always put at the top of the document. I'll have to figure out it as well if I use lil-gui, I think. It's always at the top, the thing. Or maybe I can do this, actually. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put lil-gui here. I'm gonna see how they do it. Oh, this is the TypeScript file. Maybe we should open this on the other... I think, yeah, the other file that or other folder that has only this. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is just study lil-gui and then... Because I think they do... I don't like the way that it looks that much, their thing, but I think they do what I'm trying to do, so just gonna try to see how they, like, what CSS they're putting to put the thing on the top right corner. I think what I want to achieve is that I want to achieve the same thing as VisJS, but with different CSS. But I can use the little GUI to get an idea of how the CSS works, and to get the logic as well, and then just change the CSS. Just change the style of each thing. I might have to create different components, which is gonna be annoying as hell.
The mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience.
So I have to see which one is which out of all of this stuff here. What I can do is copy this thing here. Now one thing that I can do is just copy the elements. That's a good idea. So I just put the little GUI there, then I use the inspector. It's not sure if the inspector is the right name. This thing here, the inspect. And then I just copy the whole element. And then I see based on the... I can use these style sheets, and then I just change the names. I think this is probably the best thing to do. The easiest thing, because I want to avoid thinking about CSS as much as possible. The annoying thing about CSS is that it's simple, like it's easy, but it's just hard to make it work with the page, and I hate things like that. So here I probably have to pass using the ref, use ref. It's another issue. Yeah, so yeah, the thing is I would have to change the graph consumer to a forward ref. Then I got the ref here, and then I pass there. But I wanna avoid doing that. I think just to see, because I'm probably not gonna do that with the. I'm gonna have to do it anyway, I think, with the GUI. That's the problem. Because otherwise it's gonna put on... Cause, yeah, the thing is I might not use the lil-gui at all. Just use the custom component. Just use the component that I'm creating right now. Because I think that all of the movements for the camera I can just do based on the events that I already have with the camera controls. So the main thing for the lil-gui would be to change, and the thing that's what I was thinking about is like, I think lil-gui is good to change the colors of the thing, of the visualization of the objects. Change the colors and maybe change the view as well. The only thing that would be good to change the view is the mode, so that it rotates the scene instead of panning, but that is from props. And the other thing would be the three.js objects, but then the colors are gonna be dependent on the data, I think. I think it might be better to just change the colors based on the props. It has to be like that because it's gonna be related to the nodes, but maybe not. Maybe it's gonna be good to use lil-gui as well. But I think the thing is that I would have to add extra functionality. That's the thing. Yeah, I think that's the point. Is because just using lil-gui, you would allow me to change the value of the colors of the nodes or whatever objects I pass there, I add to the GUI. But in the way that I'm thinking about it, I don't want to change the color just for the sake of changing the color. You would change the color based on some functionality, and for that I think it doesn't make sense to use lil-gui, because lil-gui is just gonna change the value of the object. So for example, searching for a node would change the color of the node or things like that, highlighting different patterns, stuff like that. Yeah, so I think this is gonna be on the... I'm probably not gonna use lil-gui, so I think I'm just gonna find a hacky thing to do here. But what exactly can I do? I think I can... The question is, can I do a ref here? Not sure if this is gonna work though. Yeah, it's not container append child. Because the thing is, that if I wanna add HTML, I have to use the thing. Oh, one idea is just to put the lil-gui here instead. I think that's what I'm gonna do. The problem is that I'm not gonna be able to add the objects that way. Maybe we can add on other objects just to see how it works, and then that are not but I think it works for any object, so I can just put outside there, and then I just want to get the easiest way possible to put stuff, and then I copy the CSS from the elements, from the spec. Then I put the CSS on the customization component, and then I just copy just see the name of the classes and change the styles, and then I can change the styles later. So I think that's what I'm gonna do for now. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that. I'm not sure if the problem is the ref, or is because of I'm getting the ref from a fragment, or if the problem is that it doesn't work with the use ref. I'll be right back. I think the problem is obviously the ref. So I'm just gonna use the query selector inside of here and then see if it works. I'll be right back. think I'm gonna take a break soon, because this thing is lying. Oh, I forgot that I have to use the current. That's the problem. So maybe it was working there before. I always forgot that I have to use the current. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, apply to React fragments. It's weird that it's working now though. But I think I'm gonna have to do it the other way, because I can't put the ref on the fragments. I think for the GUI to show up, I have to add something. Oh, it's here. Why isn't it on top though? Oh, maybe it is, but it's from the other div. Oh, but it's still kind of weird. It's not working. Yeah, maybe the CSS from lil-gui doesn't work as well. Because the examples I saw is probably they're probably on the top right as well. Because the canvas takes the whole screen. So maybe I'm gonna have to use the WebGL examples one. I remember that it was harder to understand how it works. But maybe the CSS is easy. Let's see something. Yeah, why is it not showing here? Maybe it's the Z index? Ah, there we go. So it is working. Nice. Yeah, that's good because this saves a lot of time. I was thinking about doing is going over the WebGL examples and then just getting the code from WebGL and see if it works. So now I think I'm not gonna even study lil-gui. Just gonna continue to see how to make this, because it's gonna be a lot of time to understand how lil-gui works. I'm probably gonna have to study as well at some point. But maybe it's better to... the biggest problem with the VisJS one is that it's very complicated to study the inputs and how they change the physics, but I'm gonna have to study anyways, I think. But it might be better to just spend time studying the VisJS one instead of studying the lil-gui, because VisJS is closer to what I wanna do. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna remove the button there. I think that's the thing. For now, I'm just gonna put this... Once I'm done making this work here, the selection, then I'm gonna focus on the other stuff. because the other customization things are gonna be dependent on the physics. Yeah, but the problem is that it can't be on click. So I have to figure out how to... I have to finish this, then how to change the style of this, so it's not the default. And that might be difficult as well. Then after I do that, then I move to this other... as I do this, I'm gonna see if the other layouts have problems or not. I'm gonna try to fix them, and then I start studying the VisJS physics, which I already did a bunch of times, but I need to see how can I implement. And I think it's gonna be very, very hard because three.js is on 3 dimensions and VisJS is on 2 dimensions. So I'm gonna have to just... The thing is, I don't know how much time it's gonna take, that's the problem. Because from what I remember studying VisJS, it is very hard, so... To understand how they do things. I think the hardest part is gonna be like getting used to, but maybe once I have the customization components done, then it gets easier, because then like once I have, the hardest part is the beginning. I think is just like understanding how to synchronize the customization with the visualization. And I think this is not gonna, yeah, I'm gonna have to work on this and forever, I think, because it's gonna depend on the data that I receive and the way that I wanna do things with the visualization. So I think this is the most difficult parts. And I think I'm gonna have to, everything that I wanna customize, it has to be on the store, I think. It can't be on props. So I need to change the component so that instead of receiving the arguments as props, it receives from the store. And then I select the values based on here, and then I put the defaults on the store, the same way that I did with the layout type. The other functionality is gonna be... all of them are going to be changing values on the store, I think. But for the nodes and edges, I changed them indirectly, I think. The thing that's annoying is that... is this thing that I didn't want to spend time thinking about now. But I'm going to have to, because I didn't want... And this is the most difficult part, is understanding, like figuring out how React's cycle is going to impact the visualization. This is really annoying, and the problem is because like when I get an error, it doesn't show anything, like it doesn't break the application. So it's like bugs that don't break the application, so they're very hard to figure out. And the issue is that the life cycle and the whole thing of React is very annoying to go over. So this is the biggest problem, is like because I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that the reason why it wasn't working before in the way that I was trying to do is because I wasn't updating the values of the nodes on the state. So because I wasn't updating the state, it doesn't trigger re-renders, and then it doesn't change the visualization. And the reason why it works here, and the reason why they create these different nodes, is so that you can use these nodes to set the values of the nodes and edges again later. But I'm not really sure though, because, and this is the problem, like, I think I can change this again because I don't need the nodes here. Yeah, but I think this is the thing, is if I remove, because these are not necessary, because the positions of the layout are just gonna be set on the nodes as X and Y properties of the objects. So I can use those X and Y properties on the transform function. This one I think is the one that is necessary to create the other nodes, so that it updates the state on React, and then it re-renders the graph. Because I think when it does that, it triggers the build, probably. One way that I can test is just remove this stuff here from the dependencies. But I think what's gonna happen is that it triggers this, and then it builds the graph again with the new positions. But it's not very good, that's the problem. But I think that it might be necessary to do like this, because I remember for React, the part that you have to update the rendering, I think, is when the component updates, or when the component mounts and unmounts. So I think whenever new nodes are added or removed from the scene, then you need to trigger again the... But for the position, it shouldn't be necessary to trigger the rendering cycle again. So I'm not really sure why that stuff was happening. That's the problem. Because the way that I was doing before, it was working, but then there was extra nodes. So I think this is what makes me think that is a React problem, because there was like some nodes that it seems that they were on the starting position, and then the other nodes were on the final position of the layout. But it's very hard to figure out at what point this happens, so because there's so many things going on, and because of the state of the way that React is gonna update everything. But it is annoying me that, like, because it feels like it's not necessary in a lot of these parts to create these nodes, and then you create extra loops. And I think the problem is that it's gonna become slower with the size of the graph. That's the issue. So the bigger the graph, like for small graphs it doesn't matter, but then if the graph is very big, you have to do a bunch of extra loops each time, and it's not very good. And the biggest issue is on the updating. That's the biggest concern that I have. Because if you have to recreate the graph every time that you change a value here, I think it's gonna be too slow. That's the problem. So I think that there is a way to update the values and change the positions without triggering re-renders. I think the only time is necessary to trigger a re-render is when you add or remove nodes and edges. But maybe not, maybe I'm wrong. So let me think. Yeah, so technically I don't need to get a position from here, I think. But I remember that I left like this because maybe I was having some problems. Maybe I can try this now. Just this is one optimization, I think. I think the problem is these other values here that I don't understand really well. Yeah, I remember when I removed this, it gave me a problem. And I think that the reason why is because it is using these ones. It's creating a map here and then using this to create the new nodes and edges. And then from this is gonna set again. And I think this triggers the change and updates the state on React. Yeah, it doesn't work. I think the reason why is probably because it's two different instances of the nodes, and that's why it's confusing. Because this is the node from the graph, and the layout's not changing the node from the graph. It's changing the new nodes that it creates there. That's the problem. I think the key of the issue is that you can't pass the graphology nodes to the layout. So because you're creating these new nodes here, then you put the attributes on the nodes. And then the question is, does it matter? But I guess it's not that big of a deal. Maybe I'm just overthinking this too much. Which is another thing that is kind of funny to think about, or like, because it is also another paradox that I might be like focusing on the wrong thing and then because I'm trying to optimize so much, I'm actually becoming slower, which is actually worse. So there's always a trade-off, but it's hard to say, like, with the time invested on each thing. Because it can have a huge impact. I guess it depends on the size of the graph. So probably it's better to leave this for later. I should probably be focusing on the other stuff. But the reason why I want to, like, part of me wants to fix this right now is that I don't want to think about this anymore. Like, the goal that I have is just fix everything, make sure that everything is the best on the components, and then I can just isolate that, and then I can focus on the other stuff. But I think I can't really do that. It's not practical, so there's no way to do it, because it's gonna be very difficult to figure out the other part. So it would be better if I could isolate each thing to focus on each thing at a time, but I think, like, I can't do that, because the most challenging part is gonna be once I have the data and I'm trying to extract meaning from the visualization, because then the data is going to change the state of the store, and it's going to change all these cycles here. And then if I have a problem at that point, then it becomes like exponentially harder to figure out. So I think, like, this, but it's not 100%, like, it's very complex, so it's difficult to say, because it's also like you waste a lot of time thinking about this stuff. So maybe I'm not. I'm gonna put a little bit. Not sure if I should increase or decrease to, because there should be some, like, some space, I think. So it's not. But also it doesn't matter that much, because if I add the ability to functionality to move around, it's not gonna matter. Okay, so now it seems like it's fucked up again. Maybe it's because of the value. So let's see. I don't understand how 0 is on the one side and then 10 is on the other side. Doesn't make a sense, sure. Alright, it doesn't make any sense. So that's, but the problem is I'm gonna have to think about this anyway, because when I create the drag for this thing, I'm gonna have to change the position. Yeah, so I think I have to figure it out. Oh, maybe it's because of the size. No, but that shouldn't make any, shouldn't have any difference. I need to understand better how this relationship works between the relative and the absolute positions. I don't understand why it's crossed there. But with 0 it seems to work. Invalid property value. Oh. It's probably just the units. Some pixel. Yeah. So now let me think about I think I should probably use the same class for all the different, like for the select I have one class, and for input I have another. Input I'm gonna have to do with, maybe input I can just do with the HTML, but I remember there are some ones that it looks like it is something, but you have to use a bunch of divs. I think the slider is gonna be like that, because if you wanna make the custom slider, you can't use the one that comes from HTML. I think you have to fake a slider, and that's gonna be annoying as well. But if I can make the CSS work within the components, then like isolated from the rest of the page, then I think it should be fine. Yeah, well, let me think about it. And so I have to figure out the function as well. I should also search for websites. Like, if there isn't websites for this yet, then I don't understand why. But there probably is. Hopefully there is one that is free. Where... And I thought about this for a very long time as well. Like, why don't they have a bunch of just components? I think that this is like... is the trade-off about the flexibility with the rigidness, let's say. I'm not sure how to say that, but like Tailwind is a library that allows you to put the styles, but then it's not the component itself, it's just the style. I think the reason why is because it allows you to have more flexibility, but there probably should have somewhere, some websites, they should have probably like components that already have the styles you want. You could just pick the component, maybe Figma or Framer, some site like that. So I should probably search for that instead of spending a bunch of time trying to figure out the CSS. Let's see if this works. Right. Maybe don't even need the class. I'm gonna put it anyway. It didn't change anything. Let's see the HTML to see if they are using the same. Oh no, it's not this one. Yeah, but it's the same. Oh, they put it on the div here. I can just put here. Hmm. If the name is different. Yeah, I think it's a business selection and select. Here. Uh, no, we still didn't change the color. It's probably because of the select. Let me just copy again and then see. It's easier. The problem is the size of this thing. Maybe we'll choose a different one just because it's easier. I'm obviously gonna think about this later as well. Just wanna like do a little bit of work so that is not like very ugly. So I think I'm just gonna leave as like at least decent, and then I'll think about it later. I think this one is not gonna work very well, so I'll look for another one. So whatever. Let's put another color here. Let's put black. Thing is that I don't see this class here. I guess it's just the selector. Selecting the options from the selects. Yeah, I don't remember really well how that works, but I think from what I remember it was different. If you wanted to do that. I don't like doing things like that as well. Like changing the style based on the HTML element. Because it kind of forces you to keep everything the same. Like in a way it's good because it maintains the style, the general style of the thing. But in another way it's bad because then you don't have the... I can't customize that much. But I think it probably makes sense though, sure. But to be honest, I don't really care about this stuff that much. I just want to get, because it's not what I'm good at as well. So I just want to get to the point where it doesn't look terrible, but is usable. And then later on, if it grows, I hire someone to change this stuff. It's not my strong point. So I'd much rather spend a lot more time thinking about the other stuff, about how to translate the information and visualize than to fix the CSS. Here I think what they did was create variables and then they are making based on the variables. But I also don't want to spend time thinking about it. I don't know why it's not working here. Maybe it's because of this. I think that they're probably using a library for something like this. Yeah, I don't know much about CSS, so... You put it like this. Maybe I should spend some time though studying CSS because it would be better. I think if the website looks nice, obviously. But the problem is that I'm not good for this kind of stuff, so. Yeah, I think I'm good in thinking about it. Like I can visualize in my mind a way that I think it would look nice, but I'm not good at translating that into the thing. I think I'm gonna just use another one. And That's more simple to change. I don't like this very much though, like, but maybe it's the only way. Like having the box separated here. Maybe I should go for... Maybe I should just leave it like this and change the stuff later. Just study VisJS now. And it's probably a better thing to do. Because there's so many other stuff to think about. And it's not that important. It's not gonna work now. I'm just gonna leave the way that it was before. What I'm gonna do probably is just search for these templates and just copy the CSS. Maybe I'll leave it like this. Yeah, so now I have to figure out how to... I wish the VisJS thing was easier to see, because that would be much better. Just see how they do it here. Maybe I should just spend some time now thinking about it, or studying this and trying to understand. The problem is that this page uses the... Oh, I think I was going over with the debugger here. Maybe I can do that now. Because this uses the version of the VisJS that it's already compiled or transpiled with Babel. So it's not very good to understand. But now I remember that I was, some time ago, I was going over this. So maybe I can use the debugger here to understand how they do it. Why didn't I think about this? I could just use the select here and copy everything. Yeah, so let me think about it. I want to choose stream for 3 hours today, and it has been 2 hours. I think I'm gonna take a break now, and I'm gonna study VisJS. And then what I'm gonna do off stream is just copy this. I don't know why I didn't think about this before. I can just copy this element and then put there, and then I can change the CSS, and I can just copy. It's gonna take a lot of time, but unless I think about a better way to copy everything, because when I copy the HTML, I'm gonna have to copy the CSS one by one here. So it's gonna be annoying, but yeah, this is much better than what I was doing. I don't know why I didn't think about this before. So I think what I'm gonna do now is try to figure out the functionality with the debugger, which I also forgot, because I was thinking more about going over with the source code, which I also think I'm gonna do as well. But I think for today, what I'm gonna do is just go over with the debugger. See if I can. I'm pretty sure that I can see somehow here what's, yeah, the event listeners. I don't know though if like these are all the. I think it's all the event listeners that are attached to the elements there, and these are from the window. This is the. So I think they use their own change to change. Yes, it's just the change. The other ones are from the event, from the window. But the thing is, it doesn't have. Maybe here is the function, but yeah, function location. Oh no. Maybe the other ones I can find. I think I'm gonna close this window as well because there's a lot of reflection on this screen. Yeah, but this should save a lot of time of having to search for everything. The annoying thing is that what I'm gonna do is just create a component, I think, because the inputs are gonna take a lot of lines. So I can just copy everything here and then I create a component for the sliders. And the rest I can grab different styles from different places as well, and then just just change the CSS of each one. But I'm probably gonna do this off stream because it's also better, because I can use the 2 screens to change, so it's much better and it's not that interesting. So I'm gonna try to figure out if I can find this. I'm gonna take a break now, and then when I continue, I'm gonna try to figure out if I can find like the location of the functions that got triggered. It looks like they're using onChange, the event, and then they call a function, and that function is gonna change the visualization. So I'm gonna see if I can find the functions that are changing the visualization, or the functions that are being called when the event gets triggered. So yeah, I'm gonna meditate for 10 minutes, I think. Or for 12 minutes. I think I'm gonna remove the camera as well. So, yeah. I'm gonna remove so I can close the curtain there. Because it's too much reflection on the monitor. So I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes, I think. I'm gonna go to the bathroom as well. Then when I come back, I'm gonna meditate for 15 minutes. Then I keep going until I close 3 hours, and I'm just gonna study this stuff here. Then off stream, I figure this other stuff out. But yeah, I think what I'm just gonna copy this stuff here from VisJS now that I think about it. And then change. I think for now, I'm not gonna change the styles as well. I'm just gonna copy and leave it like this. And I'm gonna focus first on trying to make the functionality work with the visualization. I think that's the most important. And then once I have that figured out, then I can think about the styles. But I also have to study the compiler stuff as well, which is gonna be hard. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm gonna study this for another 35 minutes. And then I'm gonna stop. You'll put 30 minutes. I think the only way is through here. Oh, here. And the thing is that it doesn't show the function. Interesting. There are links here for created by this guy. Oh, this is probably related to this algorithm here. There is something that they do with this randomization, but I don't understand really well. I think that three.js does the same thing. I think it's to keep track of each element in the scene. I want to put breakpoints here. Oh, I can't put breakpoints. That kind of sucks. Oh, zone. Ignore this. Oh, I think it's because the way that they did it. I remember that in the project there is a... I found the file that loads this page here. So maybe what I should do is just open that one and then I can change stuff. But I know that this is gonna be hard because I already spent a bunch of time studying this stuff. So if I can't put breakpoints, then it's kind of useless. Because it's pretty much the same thing as going over the source code. And the problem with this, with opening from here, is that it's gonna use the script that comes from the standalone file, I think. And I don't remember really where is this thing. Because there's a lot of stuff here. I think it's here. Yeah, it's this one probably. And this is the issue, that they use these scripts and the files are I think the thing is, I remember maybe I already initialized, but I think you have to install or something like that to have to get these standalones. But I think I already did this at some point. And the issue is that the file is like this after it's compiled, so it's different than the source code. Not that much different, but still different. And I remember going over the actual source code from the project. It's very confusing the way that they do it. So I think they use a function and they pass some options there. Maybe I should just put breakpoints since the beginning. I think that's what I did last time. So I can see the moment that it creates the inputs. Maybe that's a better approach. If I can figure out by seeing the functions directly. I think this one is better, probably. This is the same project, but I should open on another level so it's easier to just see. I think you should open with the files that I had last time. Okay, so maybe not. Maybe if I open on the network itself. Because then I don't have to search again for everything. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to search. Was options, I think. I don't remember which one though. I think it's this one. It's related to this stuff. Maybe it's this configurator. Is it used? This is the problem, is that I couldn't find this library here, and that's the issue. Because there is another repository, which is this one, but then the issue is that on this one, there is no, like, this extension here. I don't know. Maybe I should ask ChatGPT. I think it has something to do with the translation or something like that. That's like, this is kind of the index.js that exports everything. So, and I think I remember seeing the file, but I wasn't sure. So maybe I should open the repository again. Oh, there's the CSS here as well. I think it's probably this file, configurator.js. So I can just copy the CSS here. Nice. And the only thing I have to do is to change the functionality and the CSS. Which is very good because it's gonna save a lot of time. I think, to be honest, CSS is kind of useless to know nowadays. And it's gonna be even more and more useless. I think the first thing that's replaced is obviously this stuff, like mostly front end. I think is the first things first things that are gonna be replaced because it's always the same stuff. Like, even though it changes from page to page because of the way that you need to put the positions of each thing. Like, eventually there's gonna be like better and better templates for everything, and already there is already a bunch of templates. So I think it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend time, like too much time thinking about these things. And I think that the CSS is gonna be, the front end is gonna be more about the, it is difficult to put them together. Like, this is probably where it's gonna go, I think. So it's more about a designer thing instead of a programming thing. Like, knowing what is the best way that the page is gonna look, and not only the best, but I think the conversions are always gonna be, it's probably gonna be the last thing, because the most complexity is on the back end, I think. That's when you use all the data to create the actual thing that is gonna matter, I think. But I think it would be good to be like slightly better. I think the stuff that I don't know very well is the variables and the transitions that I haven't done anything. It would be better to improve at that. And the other things are just annoying, I think. Like figuring out the flexbox, grid, stuff like that. It's not hard to do, it's just annoying as fuck. So I always prefer to copy as much as possible, I think. But I remember the issue here was understanding how, I think it's this function here that is kind of hard to, it's like, how does it create the inputs based on whatever the input's gonna do? That's the part that is difficult. Because I remember seeing this before as well. Or maybe I can, it's probably better to see it from here. If I can find this. So it's probably this thing here. So here it doesn't do anything, but it does here. Set options here. Options configure. I spend some time trying to understand this, then I'll go back to going over with the debugger. I think the first thing that I'm gonna do, like off stream, for now I'm just gonna do this, but the first thing that I'm gonna do off stream is just try to get the HTML and CSS right, and then I just replace the logic. For replacing the logic, then I think I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of time studying VisJS again. Also to implement the physics. Interesting. Maybe this is useful as well to put there. I think the way that I'm gonna do this, the selection, is just do their own change, like ChatGPT said. And then I'm gonna find the reason why I didn't like the ChatGPT suggestion because I'm gonna have to use ref. Maybe I can use the document query selector to get the, but it doesn't feel like it's the best. So I'm gonna see if I can, if through the event it passes the value of the option that was selected. I'm gonna try to get that, and then I just set the value. It's probably not that hard. I also have to remember to clean up the event listeners on the drag events. I wanna see at what point it's going to call the create on this configurator. So I think the configurator is just is not for the. Oh no, this is related to the canvas. Yeah. So I was looking at the wrong thing. I don't remember where this. I think this method is the one that creates the customization thing, but I don't remember where it's initialized. Where does it call this method? So let me go back to this and see if I can find. The problem is that I think the other, yeah, it's just the same thing. It's not gonna show anything because it comes from the VisUtils. Maybe I can search here actually. Yeah, but I can't put the breakpoints. So what if I open from this one? Ah, there we go. Oh, but I can't put here, just here. Hmm. Yeah, it doesn't work. Maybe if I put break on some of these attribute modifications. Oh, it doesn't show anything. I'm pretty sure that this one has... This is the stuff that selects what is gonna show there, I think. Yeah, the container here, the config, which is gonna be the main container. So it is passed on the options to the network. So this is here. So it's definitely this part, I think. Set options, options. So there's filter and container. Or it has to be this function here that creates the inputs. So this is a function that accepts the option and the path. Yeah, I think this is the thing that is confusing, is because the actual inputs are not, like, they come from this somehow. Because this is gonna select which ones that show. So this comes from here. But it doesn't make sense if this is an empty list. It's not gonna loop over anything. Oh no, it's a different thing. Yeah, so this is probably the one in the beginning there. Default container. So it has to be this thing. Okay, so this is an object. Of physics. So the thing here is probably each one of those objects there. The option is gonna be each one of those. It's gonna be physics in this case, physics and smooth. So let me think about it. Turns true. Yeah, I think if I spend some time, I'm gonna understand how it works. Maybe I just didn't figure out because I was focusing on other stuff as well the last time. and then I just moved on from this to study the other stuff. But I think now, so I'm probably getting somewhere. It's gonna call this function and it's gonna return true here for physics. The path is an empty thing. Does it make sense? Yeah, I don't understand this actually. Because why put this here and then here, reassign the value immediately? Doesn't make sense. I guess is because like this is the default value and then yeah, but this would be true then. But maybe it returns false. But yeah, I don't know. Because the path is always gonna be empty here, so it's always gonna be false, I think. Which doesn't make sense. So this is gonna be false, so it means it's gonna work with this thing. So the option is the object, and the configurator is the other object. So it's just gonna grab this thing here for the physics, I think. And this is gonna be here. And this is gonna be physics probably. And true. So I think I'm starting to understand. So here somewhere probably there is gonna be the CSS. Hopefully. No, yeah, I have to figure out at what point it creates the HTML. But I think what is happening is that it's using this object here with these options to change the simulation. So these values here are gonna be the ones here on these things. So, and these are connected with this thing here. And then at some point it's gonna create the HTML. So I have to figure out where it creates the HTML. Actually, I think it's more important to understand how it triggers the functions. I think that's what I wanna understand, because the HTML I can just copy there from the website. So I copy the HTML and then I'm gonna spend some time seeing how I can make it work with the CSS here. Like what stuff I have to change, because I'm gonna probably change everything so that it works with this module thing here. The part that I wanna understand is how does it change the visualization when you put the thing. But I also wanna understand how it builds everything, how it builds every single input. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here. So it's 3 hours. I'm gonna do this stuff off stream. So this is what I'm gonna do next. I'm not sure when I'm gonna stream again, but I'm obviously gonna continue working on this. But the next step now is to copy this HTML from here and then do the CSS as well. And then once I have this, I'm gonna focus on on making it work with the functionality, or understanding the functionality from VisJS and the physics. Maybe I do that next time. And I just do the HTML and CSS off stream. And then, yeah. I think the functionality for the layouts I'm gonna do the way that I said, which is probably not very hard. And then once I figure out the functionality for the layouts, then I'm gonna see how can I implement the physics from VisJS into the visualization that I have, and that's gonna be the default. And then, yeah, once I have that, I will remove the layout type from the options, from the default, from the store, and I just leave the states of the physics engine. And then after I figure all this out, then I can think about changing the style of this. Just something else. So then only after I finish all of this stuff, I'm gonna continue to study the compilers, I think. Yeah, I think that's what I have to do. But maybe I'll study the compilers at the same time I do this stuff as well. Maybe after I finish the layouts, I study the compilers a bit, or try to build like a simple version of an interpreter or compiler or something like that to see how it's gonna work with everything connected. Like getting the data and structuring the data and then passing as a thing. There's a lot of stuff to think about.